Good day and good evening and welcome to the Solo Challenge stream with me, Caetsu Chaiji. You can just call me Kai. Tonight, we're aiming to do Origenics and probably the dungeon after that. That is pretty much the plan of the two dungeons. I don't imagine Origenics will be the hard one. Maybe some trash packs will cause some problems, but I don't think we'll not beat it. The Vanguard was probably harder in that aspect. With that said, I do need a fourth player to enter the dungeon, so if there's anyone that has time to help with that. So the way that works is, once I have a group, we queue in, or well, we enter in, right? And then you can safely leave, essentially. It doesn't give any penalty to leave if you have specifically queued for a particular dungeon, and you have a full pre-made. I am on Chaos, Louis Soir to be specific, over an EU. Gireen says they can. Alright, I'll wait for you, Gireen, then. Thank you. I have seen you too, Jiriki. It's just, I know Gireen and Dimir are in EU. I don't know if you are, and that's sometimes a problem. But while I get caught up on chat then. Hey Gazel, hey Zaf, hey Zeros, hey Weatherwitch, hey Fubuki, hey Giraheen, hey Aradel, hey Zaf, hey Cat, hey Agent Monica, hey Kaiser Dragoon, hey Taldemar, hey Law-Abiding Pokemon, hey Jiriki, and hey Ymir. Hope you're all doing very well. And hey Philippe, hope you're doing well as well. Let's see, Law-Abiding Pokemon says, is it a cardinal sin if I still use Katon Doton instead of Huton like mentioned in the Ninja Guide? Counting the number of targets gets confusing while thinking about rotation and stuff. Below level 92. Oh, Ymir's already here. That means you don't have to hop over anyway, Gireen, if that's of any help to you. Did I say hey Zarf twice? Oh, well then Zarf gets hate twice. To your question, law-abiding Pokemon, below level 92, I would say no, it's not a cardinal sin. It's actually like I would say that there's the argument that if you use Katon, then the damage that you end up doing is slightly more spread out than if you use Huton Trick Attack. On the appropriate amount of targets, it's like you're going to do slightly more damage, but it's going to be concentrated on someone, which means that if you're not actually being extremely specific, like if you're not actually paying attention to it, what's going to happen is you just kill the one that you Trick Attacked. And now there's 2 enemies, or 3 if you used it on 4. So if you don't want to like go full Galaxy Brain mode, it's fine. And that's something that I usually leave unsaid in my guides, because I feel like if I start talking about oh, you could do this, but you don't have to, like I feel like that's a given. And like usually the different like hierarchies of what's better or worse usually explains themselves. And you can usually just ask me if you're uncertain like you did. I'd say like when you reach level 92 and you get Kunai's Bane, you kind of have to use Huton there, but there it's not target counting anymore. It's just if Kunai's Bane is there, then you use it. Whereas before Kunai's Bane, there's the really awkward relationship with Huton and Katon, where Huton is kind of bad for AoE after 5 targets. And that's pretty much it. Hope that helps, law-abiding Pokemon. And hey, Jiriki, hope you're doing well. And I'm glad to have you. You're currently grinding rank 4 for Fates. That does take a while. And hey, Velus, hope you're doing well as well. And Amus, and Gleaming, and Caetsu, and Harley. Exactly, Jiriki. That is kind of that was kind of the crux. That's why I like it. Just picked out someone who I knew was on EU. I was like, well, they're in EU, so I know they can join. I don't know if you can. Now we have the answer. I still appreciate the attempt though. And hey, Lexi, hope you're doing well as well. What targeting settings do you use in PvP? I usually like... You might have seen me when I go into PvP. You see me, like... I go in here and I switch this to closest range and I set this to cone. Close that, then I open this, do this, go over here, and then like I adjust my minimap so I can see the entire battlefield, and then I usually switch to this UI layout instead, where limit break is moved down here. Job gauge is completely irrelevant. Like if I switch to a newer job, you can see that. Oh, whoops! Let me fix that in a moment. You can see that I'd never touched it. Doesn't matter. It's just to put my buffs also here, because where your buffs and debuffs are usually positioned is behind the PvP UI up here, so you wouldn't be able to see them. I think I also moved my target slightly down. No, apparently not. Well, there you go. But I usually set my targeting to closest range and cone. It makes the targeting, it's almost the same. Like, it doesn't feel that much different, but sometimes it feels more helpful. Another thing that you might find significant to know for PvP is, I don't know if you can hear, I press a specific keybind here. I have a keybind, I'm pretty sure it's the default one, but I would highly recommend for PvP that you set a keybind for target nearest enemy. For any reason. Because it means that there's a high chance that whoever's closest, the closest enemy to you that you can see, is likely going to be option 1, the person attacking you. Or option 2, the closest person you can attack if you're ranged, for instance. That can sometimes be helpful if you're just trying to throw something out. Like, I sometimes use that one when I'm trying to find a legible target for throwing Katon into a blob of enemies as a ninja. Yeah, because I don't particularly care who it lands on. I just want it to land on them. But yeah, that's what I do. You would ask that. You could do the solo on OC. I think that's a bad idea. Gleaming says I have my targeting set to auto target closest. I mean, this and this usually will result in that as well, I'm pretty sure. But the combination I have normally, the intent there is that it leads to, if I'm running towards a pack in a dungeon, I just click tab, and I will be able to tab through every enemy from left to right, and then I can just dot if I'm a healer, for instance. And yeah, that's also an option, Gazel. That's also something you can do. That you can just have a keybind to do it. Specifically just a macro button. But yeah, right. We should probably get started. Oh yeah, I also, just quickly, I got a new axe. It's very shiny. Thank you for helping me inside. I have to click those off. We have to be fair, but thank you anyway. This is going to be I don't know if I can do this first one, but we always try and do the giga pull. The big pull right out the gate. We will always try, because it's way more fun if we can. Oh yeah, I'm level 100. I had my full toolkit. Oh, warrior, you can do it. Well, let's see about that, yeah? I can hear that the soldiers on the floor has a mini tank buster. They're using fast blade in between their auto attacks. Whoa! Something hit me hard there. Do the Cyclopses have a tank buster? Yep, they do. Body blow! I should have waited with that in a release. Eh. Every mob in the pack has a buster? Possible. Order important. Some of these mobs are trying to kill me. I can't wait for the healing of Nascent Chaos. As an important little tip is that Decimate and Nascent Chaos, or Chaotic Cyclone, sorry, they hit slower. So sometimes, even though you have Bloodwetting running and like everything's going to be fine, you die before the healing can land. I didn't expect them to do that much damage. I feel like earlier in the poll, when I used Damnation, I was fine. Just tanking everything with just Damnation, and now suddenly it's not okay. Speaking of not okay. Ow. They fight each other a little bit at the start. That's true, but I was pretty sure I had aggro on everything by that point. Oh, it's the furthest behind. That's a classic, isn't it? I want to attack a particular one, the weakest, thank you. And then it just goes, alright, I'm going to lag behind, guys. I think I have a strat. I have a strat for this particular boss fight known as One Warrior. I'm just going to kite the warrior a bit. But you're running towards him. Yeah, but I'm running slower than you guys. I might have painted myself into a corner here. Ow. Have this on your way out! Bam! M8S is just a warrior. They don't use a soul or anything. It's straight up just a warrior. Thank you for celebrating 15 months as part of the Cult of the Penguin. Indeed. Blade. That is a very bladey celebration. Blade or something. Better not get hit while they're using blood wording, yeah. Could you imagine a boss like that? Like, you make a mistake, you don't move out fast enough, and then the boss just goes whoop, 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 and then they're just good again. Just start over. Cat says, I love how any single target move in this game is called a tank buster. Yeah, I get how it's a little weird to do that, but it also is the kind of way where calling it that immediately clarifies what I mean, right? Isn't this the slow, boring part? What are Bjords, Veles? A Type-1 bird. Well, why are you fishing birds? Oh right, Fell Cleave is a gain on 3. That would actually be pretty cool, Strat, but could you imagine that? I do recall that faction champions back in World of Warcraft, was it Trial of the Crusader, right, in Wrath of the Lich King? I'm pretty sure it was not, like, that much, like, it didn't get that much love. Because it felt like, just weird. Moria has 1/4 of the HP of other bosses, but it uses Bloodwetting 3 times during the fight. Only 3? Ah, I see, Dennis. Is it for scripts? I just remembered that there's another poll after that. Pan Extreme, but for real this time. Oh wait, oh, is it boss time? Oh, are there only 3 packs at the start? I always forget. Nice! Boss time! Take this! Blep! I have a feeling this boss is going to be exceptionally easy. Because it spends so much time doing the half-room cleaves. How about the warrior uses Bloodwetting every 2 minutes? Not only does it use Bloodwetting every 2 minutes, but every time it uses Bloodwetting, it gets like a stack of a damage increasing buff. It doesn't have a Hardened Rage, but it just keeps doing more and more and more damage. Wouldn't that be fun? If you're strong enough, then you can let the fight go for 30 minutes if you like. Oh man. Oh boy. Oh. For some reason in my mind, one of the cleaves was supposed to be in front of the boss. And then eventually get hit by a 200k damage fell cleave, yes. Hey, Brontom. Oh, yeah, the timer again. Womp womp. It's not intentional. I swear. Oh, whoops. This is not the time for drinking tea. Okay, never mind on this going to be easy. Fair enough. That was like 90k damage through 40% damage reduction. What? Can Warrior solo M4S but the other way around? There's never a bad time for tea. I guess not. It's just a bad time to drink tea right when you have to click a defensive cooldown to live. Now the question is, Herr Becaris, or if that's even your real name, how often do you use that stack marker? Because if the answer is not often, then you have a problem. You have about 45 seconds to do it again before you've basically lost all progress you've made. That's true, this is a very nice tweak of the Philia skeleton. Okay. Well, that's good, Cyanide, because it seems like the mechanic cycle is like 110 seconds. Mechanics will start repeating when the boss reaches 84% HP. Ugh. You warned him, so he decided to use it again. Oh, good point. Maybe I should use it more. This small dragon does have a good point there. Yeah, the bad news is that it seems that I'm fine. Like, he doesn't actually spend my cooldowns. Like, he's not running them down. So as long as I don't make a mistake, he's already lost. I could probably add Weave Damnation later. I think I can survive this. Yep. Just take it straight up. And now he does nothing that can hurt me for way too long. Yeah, that sounds about right, Samuel. Which is also a very clear sign that he's lost, because that isn't good enough. He spends too much time on things that do 0 damage. And his tank buster isn't strong enough to warrant me using a defensive cooldown at all. And his spread marker isn't strong enough to warrant me using anything at all. Tell that to the people that wipe to this mechanic. Fair point. That's one long elevator. Oh yeah. Oh, now that you mention it. Where are we going? To heaven? Guy has owned a longer elevator. Yeah, his also just keeps going. The second boss will be interesting because there's ads. That's a good point. I think the ads are relatively weak. So, like, that might actually be detrimental. Just, oh, thanks for the free healing. Let me just Mithril Tempest real quick. Like, the ads need to do enough damage to make it a net loss in HP, which is rare. Splat. So tank buster, right? Yep. Wow, he almost had me there. He almost had me there. He was really close. And then he jumps to the middle. Isn't that the exact same cycle he's done the last 3 times of that mechanic? Yeah, I don't know where this is going, Six. Like, we've been going upwards for really long. Like, really long. I don't know what's happening. We just step out of the elevator and, like, we actually just step out on clouds. It's a very, very big building. It would be pretty funny if while you were fighting the boss, like the elevator would start to go slower and slower and slower. To, like, make sure that it actually finishes at the destination. Into that trial once you step out of the elevator. Blep. You just skip past the rest of the dungeon. It's time to fight the Lobberits. Is that what they call an elevator boss? Oh yeah, not to be confused with a door boss or a wall boss. This is straight up an elevator boss. Oh, we've been shrunk down. Ah, of course. Wink. Is there another pack? Pretty sure there's another pack. Yep. This is a complaint that I've or not necessarily a complaint, but a detail that I've mentioned about this dungeon, and I think also Vanguard, is that both of them are really, really in love with this thing of having enemies spawn in, so you're not sure when you've pulled everything. Did I single target that guy? Guess I did. And like, why does that one in particular have so much less HP than the rest? Like, I guess I'm to blame for that one. Ugh. We're out of defensive cooldowns. We should run just a little bit. Just a little bit. Ow, 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 ow. Don't fast blade me. And then we run a little bit again. Nyeh. Nyeh. In retrospect, I should probably have been focusing the ranged mobs. Use a slow blade. Oh no. That would be pretty funny if Paladin actually got that. At 102, we finally learned an upgrade for Fast Blade called Slow Blade. 6 says, I tried to learn how to kite mobs for solo, but it's such a different skill set that only after I tried, I realized I have no clue what I was doing. Well, it's a little weird, and it requires you sort of understanding how the mobs think in some capacity. Some packs are also just really, really hard, like to actually kite, especially because like most of these mobs will still hit you if you try to kite them. Like, they'll still get hits in on you. It's just that running away gives them less hits. Because they don't actually check whether they can hit you until they actually have a swing ready for you. So while you're running away, you're building up that gap that they have to traverse. A level squish. Yeah, I don't know how they would do that, Taldemar, but that could be a good idea. It's possible to stay in melee range and consistently prevent enemies from attacking you. I guess that would require being very careful with walls and stuff. And there's also the part that in Palace of the Dead, you're dealing with like a Realm Reborn Heavensward mobs. And those mobs have a tendency to actually run slower than the player. Sometimes. And if the mob is slower than you, well, then there's actually nothing that prevents you from running away forever. That is, by Palace of the Dead, I mean all deep dungeons. I don't know if you can do something like that in all deep dungeons, but I haven't checked. So I'll have to take your word for it. But I assume it would have something to do with how mobs usually work. Ow. Ah. I didn't feel safe running in to get the last inner release hit. So I missed. So I didn't get my Primal Wrath. Oh, right. I forgot that we took an elevator. I was specifically running that way because I was like, oh, well, there's plenty of space to run. I came from a previous pack. There's plenty of space to run that way. Nope. Never mind. Oh yeah, it's the aerostat guys again. No, that works. Yeah, I could imagine that it's better to stutter step, Velas. The thing is that if you're that close to a blob of enemies like that, then if you mess up the stutter step like that, then you get hit. And just running away flatly like that is quote-unquote safer as a result, which is the reason why I wouldn't risk that. Because I don't want to get thrown back 5 minutes because I just had to greed. But that does track with how the mobs think, because they look to get to you and then they attack. Stutter step? Yeah, you just move so that the mob keeps going, alright, I have to get to you. Oh, well, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet. I always wondered if it is faster to just wipe for cooldowns in a speedrun. I suppose in Dawntrail content there is an argument to be made that if you can just get yourself wiped extremely fast, the run back is extremely short. Oscar says, I wonder if soloing with Gunbreaker while doing single pulls would be slightly quicker than Warrior. Hard to say. It's not like Gunbreaker does a lot more damage on, like, alone. Like, not that much. Seems like she just straight up hits pretty hard. Or it, I guess. Well, the amount of mobs makes it so that it doesn't really... It's not really worth it to keep them around to heal on. What model is that? Is the boss anyway? What's her name from Dunskate? Scathach, yeah, exactly. Well... Tell because she does the kick stomps on your head. I thought you could tell because of the armies there. What skeleton is this? Is this boss based on? It's actually a Pokemon. It's Ambipom. I don't know, Velis. I guess my question, if that's a necessary detail, is if she wasn't kicking like that, what would her model then be? Like, if she wasn't kicking, what model would she be? This Deceiver. Oh no, she'd be using a different skeleton? Well, that's exactly my point, is that she has both the arms of Scathach and she kicks like her. I pretty much went, oh, that's what she is when I saw the arms initially. So it's just, I mean, if she had a completely different auto attack, there would be an argument that it's a different thing, but I mean, it's so specific, isn't it? It's also pretty funny that they specifically gave her this move. Well, that model is made for this. They should have given her Shade Thrust. Well, they needed space to give her something unique. It would be pretty funny if they made a boss like that with straight up just a boss. Like, it would be funny for the first time, I guess. Like, they just straight up have a boss that is exactly a boss that we'd already fought, like in an alliance raid or trial or something, but now it's a dungeon boss. For a second, I thought she wasn't going to summon the droids. Yeah, that's true, Harley. In a way, I guess that's the savage encounter we always wanted. Ow. 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 Anyone kept count of how many loops she's done so far? What is Maul Skull actually? Isn't it using the Titan from E4S? Isn't it that skeleton? The Titan Maximum. You know what's... You know, the thing is, Sixpack, it's pretty funny when you start to realize, oh, the boss has run out of mechanics, it's just looping now. You know what's really sad, though? Is if the boss was doing a mechanic, like, repeatedly, that was clearly winning. Like, it was a move that was giving it the edge. But then you realize that the boss only does it, like, 2 or 3 times. And then it just stops doing it. And then you start... Then you start winning. Almost feels like you cheated. Can't say like how the ads run into melee range and start shooting. Yeah, they're not very smart, are they? They're trying their best. They're trying to solve the stormtrooper problem. At least they're not missing. Most of the time. Good luck, tell them out. I don't know, Velis. Cat is talking about this specific encounter. Like this specific encounter. She got taken down mid-teleport. Yeah, same, Giraheen. It's really weird that Shadowbringers isn't the previous expansion anymore. Oh, right. What happened, Cat? How did you do that? You said give them a sword, and then the next pack, one guy has a gun, knows to not run into melee range, and all the other ones have swords. How did you do that? Real-time dungeon scaling. Did I just see the ranged guy take a step forward? No, I didn't. Okay. For a second I thought it was almost like there was like a minimum range. Like they'd close in on me if I stayed within that. And that would have been really strange. And unnecessary. True, Erdal. Did I not ask them to bring their companions? What are they doing? Can I open the door? No, I cannot. One of them has a gun. The other one has a sword. The gun has grenade shot. The sword does not. Apparently. It has warning spike. Yep. It's Circle of Scorn with a cast time. Wow. Amazing. These two guys do more damage, like combined, more damage per swing than the previous boss. Are these numbered by what pack they are in the dungeon? I don't think so. The G10 for gun and S10 for sword? Probably. I think I know who named them in the story. And he's probably not very interested, like he probably doesn't really care. Yeah, that makes sense, Zero Silver, but were the first packs named 1? Sure, this isn't the final boss of Gimlet Dark. Well, neither of them are using fist weapons. Warning, Spike Blep. There are only 9s and 10s. Oh. It goes up. Hope you're doing well. I think it has slightly longer attack range than me. And then there's another pack, and these ones can be taken with the turtle, if I remember correct. It's so random. Oh yeah, why not? Why not? A mild issue with the turtle is that any AoE that is centered on it is like all of the AoE just lands on it. It's an Iborg. Mr. Soralja, how will we protect Everkeep? I like turtles. I like turtles. And mine is the path of turtles. Mine is the power. Mine is the path. Yep. You know, in retrospect, it's probably very, very little reason to pull the turtle. I'm not getting very much progression on that. It's not a turtle, that's a dog. Worf? Arf? Hope you're doing well, Vyak. Come on. Wow, you take like 30 years to get anywhere. Finally a mob you can kite. Yeah, but why? Like now the problem is I don't want to kite them that The worst part is I think the reason why they take so long to get anywhere is because, like, they just have really slow swing timers. So, like, they're just looking at me like, why would I come over there? I'm not ready to swing yet. Nope, there is no pleasing me, Girahid. The problem is they need to do enough damage to justify me running away. Then I want to kite. These are doing not that. They're covering each other. Are there any items that cast sleep on enemies? I think there might be like a sleep potion. Like in a Realm Reborn, maybe? But it usually, those kind of items usually have like a maximum level cap. And they stop being useful. There's also that, Dreamfarer. It would be helpful 3 times, and then it would not be helpful for 1 minute. The way diminishing returns work, and I've actually realized from this turtle that a lot of people don't know how diminishing returns work, is that you sleep him once. When you sleep him, he gets an invisible 1 minute resistance buff. It makes the next one half as long. If you reapply it, like sleep him again, while it's still ticking down, then he gets, you know, a better buff that reduces it to like a quarter of the time. And then if you sleep him again, he gets a minute of immunity. So, like, if the fight took this long and I could sleep him, I could probably just, like... How long have I been fighting this guy? 3 years? I could have slept him a lot of times. How much damage is a hard stomp? Should we figure it out? Oh. When he's alone, that's actually kinda whatever. Another 50k damage at most? Yeah, that's a time save. They realize that most invaders give up after 90 minutes. I don't know why, but for some reason, after at most 90 minutes, they just leave. Like, not only that, they just disappear. So I just need to hold them back for 90 minutes. And you, Ultimatois, are the perfect candidate for that exact job. You will be the final defense before the final boss. And under that logic, the final boss is straight up just a boss with 2 shields. That just spams healing and damage reduction. 7 years have passed and Caetsu is still fighting that turtle. I kicked him right in his snoot. It didn't work. Boink. And punch! Keisha's just like, why are you alone? It's too quiet. Don't worry, Ambrose. I'm just having like a baked eggplant. Just real quick, just. You've only got 33 minutes to kill the tortoise. My game is very quiet? Is it that bad? Isn't it as it usually is? Oh, it was regarding Kalkisha. Right. Those guys are a little chonky. The twins' dad? Wait, who? Huh? What? Ow. Oh, right. That's a good point. I didn't even notice, but yeah, that is quite brutal. Now that you mention it. My uptime! How could you do this to me? Boink. I do remember that, yeah, the his disappearance. There's this tweet from a month ago that I keep thinking about. That's like, Final Fantasy 14 villain. I'm evil. I'm evil. I'm evil. Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy villain. Not even Final Fantasy 14 villain. Final Fantasy villain. I'm evil. I'm evil. I'm evil. Final Fantasy villain. 1 second before death. I just wanted to play on the playground. There. All I ever wanted was to... Ow. To not have Vuln stacks. World of Warcraft villains. That one is like... let me think. If you had seen what I had seen. Like, imagine any WoW villain. And... then you just have to like imagine that there's like an even bigger villain behind him. Imagine if it gave damage down. Oh no. Rip minion, you took a ball. Oh. It's okay, maybe the game will forget. Exactly, the bigger fish syndrome. Ah, well, what I did to protect the world from an even bigger threat, which somehow justifies all the evil stuff I did. Somehow. Remember us. Remember that we once lived. Yeah. Exactly. Yoink. Bonk. Don't you have like a... Are you just going to leave that third set of ads on the table? What? What's going on with that? Are you not going to summon them? Oh? Why not? Huh? Hmm? Why not? In before HP threshold? Oh, that could be. Yeah, Rust. There are a limited number of ads, but there's exactly 2 cages left with ads in them. Like, they're right there. They're very obvious. Ow. No worries, Rust. You know the sad part about this boss having an attack that I'm actually getting bone stacks on because I'm not dodging well enough is that this boss appears to not use that mechanic often enough to actually build up the bone stacks. And furthermore, its other mechanics are not threatening enough for it to be a problem. Hey John, hope you're doing well. Hey, the turtle took a long time. He's a chonky boy. Ow. Exactly, not promoted. It seems like it perfectly takes too long. Pick a new spot, but I like that spot. It's my favorite spot. Boink. Oh, whoops. Well, now we have a problem. I forgot that I had the knockback immunity. Arm's length moment, yep. Oh, right. Inner release. Right, guys? The reason why I choose that spot is because, like, on the beams, it looks like it's the spot. Oh, whoops. Maybe like here? When was the last time you negated sleep within a release? I don't know. Have I had opportunities too? Aside from like, I don't know, Rathalos? Bottoms, well, they wouldn't have in a release. You can always click off in a release, that's true. That is an option. But I had forgotten. Oh, and like there's also the point that I could have just moved. When they release Long Live the Queen Savage. Yeah, the guild test. I'm just saying, the saddest part about that one is that the hardest part is those blobs that sleep you. Ow. You can stand melee range. Yeah, I can see. I'm just not entirely sure where the spot is. So it's like playing it safe. Source trust me, bro. The best source. No, like, the thing is, I've done it earlier in this fight, as you saw. It's just that because I, like, miscalculated, then I get a Vuln stack, and I don't want that. So about those cages, Ambrose, like, you're not going to use them. You're saving them for a rainy day, or like, what's up? What's going on? Do they need to kick the tank for soloing from 100%? How long did the turtle take? I don't know, like 10 minutes? Or 7 years? Depending on who you ask. He doesn't want you to heal. Exactly, Guzzle. That was kind of the observation I made too. Thank you, Erdil. Yeah, it is true. I'm not entirely sure how, but liking a stream while it is live does seem to help it with fighting the algorithm. So the support is very much appreciated. Just cuts like the tip of my tail there. Yoink. Hey, Shaq. Nope, you're doing well. Yeah. Good thing our hurt box is 1 pixel. Yep. It's okay. I didn't need my tail anyway. And Fell Cleave. Okay then, well, Feller Cleave then. No minion. I got a card though. You can regrow your tail. Any major issues on this one? No. Some of the packs were a little rough, but there were none that we needed to split up. The second boss had a surprisingly heavy auto attack, and the first boss has a stack marker. I can't remember exactly how much damage it did, but it did like 90k through damnation. So it hits really hard. But not really any problems, because the thing is, the first boss its loop is like 110 seconds, and that means you can use damnation for every second stack marker. But the rest of the mechanics, like there's a tank buster, but that one you can just take flat and you're fine. And everything else is stuff you can dodge, and its auto attack isn't particularly threatening, so you can just take it, no problem. Healer strike, DPS strike, new forum post. Right, well in that case, let me just see here, can I... If I'm going to use live split, do we need a split for each pull, or do we just need one for each boss? I think that the dungeon took, was it 74 minutes? Did you know? And you're also that 6. I already have the card, but I still got it. I don't remember the names of the bosses in Alexandria. How about that? Oh yeah. Should I move it somewhere else? You won't be able to see my health bar. Could also make it smaller. That's probably better. Like that. You should have a split per mob. Just mid-fight. Just... Ah! I just test. There we go. Isn't your health bar in the middle bottom of the screen? Yeah, it is, but you know what you can't see on that health bar? Oh, look, a barrier! Yeah, I don't know either, Cole, but we're going to try. And worst case, we still want to see how much we can beat. That's Kylan, right? Can you help me with getting inside Alexandria? I also wish that barriers were displayed on the health on the primary health bar. I do not understand why it isn't. It's been too long. Rip. Thank you for helping me inside.
To the memories of better days, I bid farewell.
Thank you. Will it give you the buster or the stack or both? That is an excellent question.
Have you heard? Princess Fiend is here.
Foreign entities detected. Proceeding with removal.
Foreign entities detected. Proceeding with removal. Wow. What is that called? Flaming shot? Pretty sure that was more like a laser shot. We're not lasers, but concentrated flames. Fair enough. No, it's homing shot. It's called homing shot. I thought it said flaming shot, but it's homing shot. Oh yeah, that's a good point, Cat. Once again, it's only one of the mobs that does the circle AoE, just like in Vanguard. Weird. Can Warwick get Fell Cleave combo like on Dark Knight? We kinda have it. We have, you know, we have Fell Cleave and Feller Cleave. Oh boy. Oh boy. Stun. Blap. That is true, Zard. My best guess is that they kind of already spent Alexander. So it'd be a little weird if Alexander suddenly was here, right? These mobs hit pretty hard. Hopefully that's not a constant thing, and more like an opening volley. Whatever the case, it looks like the doggos do like some sort of gap closer when they use their tank buster, so I have to keep that in mind when I start running. That those tank busters are probably going to keep happening. Did I decide to latch onto one of the guns? Yes, I did. That's probably fine. Assuming I live. No, I actually latched onto one of the dogs. That's actually better. Ultimately, that's probably better. It could be the Alexander from 9. It could be. But I do understand, like, I could understand the argument of, well, we kind of already had Alexander. It would be a little weird to have him again. Like, specifically on the kind of note that, like, Alexander left on, it would be a little strange if he came back. Thank you, Lisa. If you break line of sight, maybe that stops them from leaping? I think so, but the problem is that it's really, really hard to both, like, line of sight them and also get away from them in this rather open courtyard. I had the same thought. Now that would be something, Gleaming. I have considered doing the trials, it's just that for the most part it feels a little bit like almost like a waste of time. For most of them, because it's like synced, it's probably not happening. And for some of the trials it feels like, yeah, obviously you're beating them unsynced. Yeah, so that's why I kind of usually just skip over them. Which trials can be done solo synced? Does Ifrit normal count? Garuda normal? Do they count as trials? It's an endurance battle generally. Yeah, the thing is, trials are more likely to have some sort of mechanic that'll just go, oh, well, for this mechanic you need a friend. Like, that's the reason why Titan normal cannot be soloed synced. The only way you can beat it is if you have, I don't know, like a placeable AoE or something that can kill the jail while you're stuck, but Ninja gets that at level 45. We have Ford and normal as well. You can't escape Ramu. Well, we did manage to beat Ramu with 3 players synced. Extreme synced. And yeah, I could imagine that, Yuriki. The living memory fates did take a while, and I even did them back when they were... I think there's not multiple instances anymore. Might be able to do Sophia. Does... Maybe. This final boss is an enemy in limit break, right? Yeah, it has a DPS check. We don't know if it is like it is something that I can even beat, but I still think it's a success if we can reach that boss. You can probably do at least one part 1 of Ruby Weapon synced. Actually, part 1 of Ruby Weapon has a Hardened Rage. So probably not. And yeah, that's the thing, Velas, is that we don't know if we can Holmgang through it, and most of the time they make sure to like safeguard on that one. Like the first boss in Fell Court of Troya actually makes it impossible to solo Fell Court of Troya synced, because you can't kill it in time. And its Hardened Rage kills you through Holmgang. Thank you. It's very, very likely that the final boss here will also kill through Holmgang. But I can assure you that if we don't make it, that is something that I will attempt. Like, that's a classic that I will attempt to Holmgang it. Absolutely. The last boss have an enrage? It has a DPS check. You know, when it like prepares its final attack thing? Looks like I just get the tank buster. When it uses its final attack protocol, it puts down those pylons and they charge it. And like, I don't actually know if it kills you if it actually fully charges, but it would be really, really surprising if it didn't. No, you've definitely seen it, Izakusa. It's the intermission where you have to kill ads. It's just that it's a DPS check, not a Hardened Rage. But DPS checks that are not met usually mean you die. This guy has a lot of HP. What's this kind of creature named? And like it's like some sort of like super marble, isn't it? I'm a little like, come to think of it. Oh, whoops. When I initially read this boss's name, I thought it said Virus X. Because I wouldn't assume that like a super marble of some sort would be antivirus. Yeah, it's the creature that is also seen in Void Ark, yes, but isn't it usually like some sort of like relatively speaking, it's sort of like a super marble, isn't it? I don't know if that's what it actually is, but isn't that kind of what it is? We're the virus. Yeah, I know, but that's why it weirded me out. I was like, wait. You're wrong in this dungeon. And yeah, exactly, Darth. This is one of the bosses in Void Ark. Well, it uses the same, like kind of creature, right? And I believe there's also a boss in Stormblood. And it's also a boss in Academia Nida, in Shadowbringers. And the final boss in Blue Mage also turns into this kind of creature. Momentarily. Oh, that didn't hurt that much. Weird. And it's also in Garlabald. We're halfway there. Man. They call him Chonky. The big old boy. Rawr. Looks like it's like a zebra mouth. Right? Curse the ancient on elders who made the concept in the first place. It's taking like us like 8 minutes to get this far, so it's like 2 minutes and a bit left, I guess. That's a good point, Samuel. It has the tank buster and stack marker. There's a raid wide. And then it auto attacks. And its auto attacks are not that good. Like, it does the same amount of damage per auto attack as the second boss in the previous dungeon. And then it does this. In fairness, for a dungeon boss, that mechanic alone can be too much for some players. And yeah, exactly, 6. Week 1, it was actually pretty difficult. Primarily, probably because when you see that kind of mechanic for the first time, you don't know what to expect. You, like, when it overlaps this with the immune response thing, you also don't know exactly necessarily which order they resolve in, so you might not be sure where you need to stand or how much time you have to respond. Took like 10 minutes. I didn't even get any loot for him.
And I will protect you.
No loot? Quickly!
Painful memories of war, I lay to rest.
Oh yeah, that too, Emia. That's actually an interesting point. I think I complained about that in M2N about the like the hard AoEs. I was like, I don't know when they resolve. If only there was some sort of indicator, and then here you come and we're like, yeah, couldn't they be like, I don't know, the cones on Ammon in the level 89 dungeon, which does, well, exactly that. Like, exactly that. Remember to place things in the chocobo saddle. I think the reason why I can't grab those healing those particular items is because I don't actually have better healing equipment. Like, it's actually those earrings. Yeah, it was earrings that dropped. Are actually in my healer set, so it wouldn't really work. A little bit weird. Go into a dungeon healing. Right. Not wearing any earrings, guys. Why not? Because what if more earrings drop? I usually clean my inventory very regularly, so this is typically not a problem. But it is a problem if, you know, I need to be carrying the item. Ow. Come, guys. We're going back to the boss room. I'm trying to live. Yep. Yep. You know, it's a little difficult when all of the mobs are just named something and a number. It's a little difficult to know what's what without looking at them. You could just not heal. Well, I heal in dungeons rather, like, somewhat frequently. And someone has to do it. And exactly, Samuel, that's the point. I couldn't have them because I already have them. And I'm using them, so I'm not, like, throwing them away to make space for them. Sip? Well, he isn't always in my group. Are these mobs from Final Fantasy 13? That's rather random. Ow. I never played 13 either, but it's a, like, more futuristic Final Fantasy game, I'm pretty sure, so it kinda makes sense. You know, what's really funny with a pack like this is that sometimes you'll be in a group where, like, it's just one pack, so people feel less inclined to, like, go all out because it feels like a waste. And then these two guys take, like, 3 times longer than the pull before, where you had 2 of these and something else. No Biting Pokemon says, I'm kind of mad that the French name for Mog of the Ages is Magnum Opus. That's pretty good. Yeah, that is also the best way to do it, Cole, but it is kind of understandable why some people do this thing where they hold their cooldowns because, oh, the next pack is going to be bigger. But the funny thing is, if you use all of your cooldowns on this pack, and everyone does, like if everyone in the group does that, then the next pack will take longer, and that longer time will probably mean that your cooldowns will be close, like they'll start to get ready again as you close in on the boss room, right? But ultimately, pretty much all the time, it is best to just use your cooldowns when you have them. Alright, Phil Cleave is again on 3. What's up, baby? Okay. Belt lead. Check, does I hold triple cast often? Triple cast is probably the first thing that goes. If I'm playing Black Mage in a dungeon, I'm like, what? 3 instant? Like 2 flares and a flare star? Thank you. I'm taking that one. Your water's taking 7 years to boil. Oh. Slow tea. It's a bad day for slow tea. Almost as long as the turtle. So pasta, not tea. It could be for both. It has salt in it. Well, in that case, probably not for tea. Do you like salt? Do you like salty tea? I don't think so. I haven't tried it, so I wouldn't know, but I don't think so. What is pasta but tea with some really weird filling? Exactly, Random. Triple cast, especially on trash, removes the one weakness of flare that takes 30 years to cast. Wink. Thou must flee. Your Highness.
Security breach confirmed.
I'm just gonna eat some eggplant in your face. But yeah, I don't know, not from Earth. I haven't tried it. I can't remember, does this boss have a stack marker? Because if it doesn't, then like the spread marker stuff is really easy. It does? Oh, well. Also has a tank buster. Are you kidding me? Not eat, you just... Oh yeah, that's true. I just sprinkled the eggplant over my face. Ah, now I feel stronger. Where stack marker? Oh, there. Ah, how much damage? That's not so bad. I don't think I needed to do that. Oh well. It's still adding mechanics. It hasn't finished. And we're like a fourth through the fight. So this boss actually has some meat on it. Has some stuff. And things happening. Hope you enjoyed your nap, Strat. From what I can see, it's not using the stack marker frequently enough to be a problem. Also, this boss very frequently just looks to the north. Boss doesn't even want to look at you. He's so disgusted about being soloed. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I'm trying my hardest. It's not working. So now you're looking south, okay. Whatever works for you, buddy. I should not have used that for that. That was really stupid of me. I'm going to be missing it for the stack marker. It's probably fine. Imagine if during the disassembly it was untargetable. Oh, that would be exceptionally annoying. Solo or not. That would be exceptionally annoying. %? I think it would double the length of the fight. Have you seen how much time it spent in that mode? Didn't they say they were cut down on invulnerable bosses in Dawntrail? I think they said that they recognize that players don't really like it, like the down for the count kind of mechanics. The ones where you just get stunned and forced to watch the boss do a thing. And I guess the boss being invulnerable is sort of like same-seas with that. Because like the player still can't do anything. Wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah. And that's a good point, Viek. I guess the counter to that is, okay, well, they could make the boss untargetable, or they could just make the boss invulnerable. And yeah, pretty much, Nox. I guess that's what we're doing. Although we're not sure with whether this one is even doable at all, with the final boss having a DPS check. Oh, right, that way.
Fear not.
It has a DPS check, yes.
And at the last, my final endless.
Detected. Initiate. Decode.
Now the question is how hard that DPS check is. And I think the answer is very hard if you're alone. And yep, that's right, Shiu, and then we just have to hope it's enough. It also means that, in some capacity, we might be sandbagging the first long while of the fight. Just so that we have everything. Enjoy your pastime here.
They've done it! They've preserved the Queen!
They've done it! They did it! They did the thing!
Not until keep complete.
That sounds like a good evening, Zarf. Assuming that people didn't just leave. The greed. No punish. The Bork with 0.1% HP. Fighting Norton antivirus. Ah. Well. In a way. Can the other tanks solo any Dawntrail dungeons or just Warrior? The other tanks can solo dungeons, it's just that Warrior has a tendency to be the strongest at it. So it's the easiest one to demonstrate that it is doable at all. I'm going to do this.
Removal failed. Commencing extermination sequence. Attempting extermination via multiple armaments. Purging via armaments. Acquiring target.
I can't remember exactly how long into the fight the intermission happens. I'm not sure what to do. But I really, really want to smuggle something in there.
Exterminating. Commencing final attack sequence.
Well, there it is.
Attempting annihilation via high-powered energy discharge.
The simple fact that it slows down is what makes this possible. Wow, that makes so much of a difference.
Energy accumulation complete. Initiating final attack protocol.
It might not have been possible if I didn't, like, hog everything for it. Like, the amount of damage I dealt in the first half of that phase mattered immensely
Resuming annihilation.
for the rest of it. Which I think is an interesting detail. It's that, like, you get a benefit out of giving it extra in the first half. Now the question is what the boss's loop looks like. Well, the bad news I can tell you all is that I saw, like, week 1, I saw Angel solo this part of the fight as a Dark Knight. So this is over. Assuming I don't make a mistake, this is over. Callan says, fun fact, this is when the boss is dead with a full party most of the time. It's something like this. If no one dies, this is about right, yeah. I didn't do my, like, fourth of the damage because I was sandbagging in the first half. This is over even if you make a mistake. Probably. It's more how bone stacks sometimes can overwhelm you. One of you give up. Well, unfortunately, I have the power of bloodwetting. The boss has the power of timer. Yeah. It needs to make each percent of HP it has last like about 2 minutes, I think. Every percent of HP has to last 2 minutes. Oh wait, half a minute actually. It has to last half a minute per percent, then it would win. No, that's still wrong. 30 seconds per percent. I think I got it this time. Math. Hey, Valen! What was the closest Dawntrail dungeon so far? Yeah, I think that was the final boss in Skydeep Synodi. And I don't think any other one were even close. It's not the same as half a minute. I guess so. I wasn't quite sure if I said it right. What was almost the closest on timer? That could be. And yeah, there were some wipes to trash packs, right? There were also, I believe, Vanguard. We also had some wipes. I had already forgotten which order they came down, and somehow I managed to skirt both of them. And yeah, that's true. In Vanguard, there were multiple packs where we had to just go one pack at a time because they were so strong. And we didn't have that in Origenics. Not at all. And I don't think we had to do that in Skydeep Synodi either. So it was just Maul Skull was the only danger, like really, in Skydeep Synodi. But it was very good at being a danger there. So... Alright, Emir, enjoy your evening. Ow. Erdl says, if I wonder if you queue into a 4 people variant dungeon and people leave, does it scale down for solo play? That's a good question. Can you get replacements in variant dungeons? Like, can you queue into a variant dungeon in progress? No, I know, Kylan. The reason why Erdl is asking that is because if it does not scale down when the 3 other players leave, then you would be able to try and solo a variant dungeon intended for 4 players. If you can't get replacements, then I'm reasonably confident that they would scale them down if someone leaves in the middle. Only one way to find out. That's true. That could be something we could explore when we run out of dungeons. Which is soon. So anyway, now the boss has to make every percent of HP last a full minute for them to win on time. That took like 5 minutes, didn't it? It took like 5 minutes. Hey, Bad Angel. Hope you're doing well. Annihilation! That's weirdly Bear's corner over there. I'm going over here. After dungeons, you should test normal mode trials. Now, see, the thing is, Valen, I actually talked about this at the start of this dungeon. Most trials are straight up just not beatable solo. Like, synced. They're just not. Because, like, either the boss hits too hard or there's, like, it'll be a stack marker, but it hits way harder. It's fine, Valen. It's just more to say, we actually talked about that previously. That's the reason why I just skip over them, is because it's just not feasible. There's like a huge maybe on trial 1, I guess. But I don't think there's a chance. Just go do normally freed and get rid of for fun? No, we already did that. But yeah, it's just the double amount of party members missing, or actually more than that, because you're missing 7 instead of 3, makes it too hard. The mechanics that like expect more players will hit too hard, and sometimes the boss will just have a mechanic that says, oh, well, you need a second player to help you. Oh, you don't have that? That's a shame. That's a real shame, and then you just lose. And it's sort of like almost random, I would say, which ones are doable and which ones are not. And yes, indeed, on tempo offbeat. That could be. But that's what we call the extreme countdown. We're doing Heavensward next. Probably. Alright, Eliminator. You need to make this 1% really last. You only need to hold 23 more minutes. Never mind. Yeah, exactly, Zaf. This is the thing that is like really, really important distinction here is that like then it's not synced anymore, right? After leveling is finished? But Brontom, I finished leveling Tuesday. Dawntrail too hard in shambles. I will say, I think some of these dungeons are definitely harder than like Endwalker dungeons. But too hard is maybe a stretch. Yeah, the next we would do is Tender Valley and Strayborough Deadwalk. Like that would be the next. Oh, nice. Realm Reborn dungeons are harder, especially if you did them like minimum item level, no echo. That is true. Let me put it like this. This dungeon synced is item level 110. 110. If you set it to minimum item level, it's 45. I remember when we finished Aurum Vale, I'm pretty sure in that stream, I went in minimum item level as Scholar, because we did Aurum Vale as Scholar, just to see. And it took me like 3 minutes to kill one mob. I could do it. And now you might be saying, wait, how did you kill one mob? Aren't they like in packs of 2 at least? Well, if you put a dot on a mob, and then you die, and then you get back up, then you can somehow pull just that mob out of the pack. And then you can kill it. And a lone scholar at minimum item level can kill one mob in Wanderer's Palace alone. One at a time. So it'll take you're not going to beat that. Like, you're going to run out of time. I don't even know what you're going to do when you reach the bosses. You'll probably just die. But it takes so long just to set up each fight, because you have to like run up to the pack, dot one of them, die, and then have that one mob come to you as you rest. And you need to do that for each mob. And that setup can take like 45 seconds, and then you need to kill it, which takes several minutes. Isaacus says, how many expert option dungeons do we typically get? 3 at the launch of an expansion, then the first major patch comes, and then I can't remember if it goes up to 4 or if like the level 100 MSQ dungeon flips out. I'm pretty sure it goes up to 4, And then the second major patch comes out, and then the 3 starter ones get cycled out. And then down to 2. And then it's just 2 for the rest of the expansion. And I'm hoping that they'll add some optional dungeons. Like, extra optional dungeons. But I don't think we will get any. But I'm hoping. 7.1 and 7.1 to 7.5 dungeons are going to go crazy. It would be cool if they did. But don't get your hopes up. Because what typically happens is the first dungeon associated with a raid tier is typically slightly harder because like your gear is like somewhat appropriate for it, somewhat, especially if you're not like a savage raider or something, and you didn't like collect all of the like alliance raid tokens and stuff to max out the gear from the previous raid tier. And then the second dungeon in a raid tier that comes out is typically really easy because it increases the expected item level by like 15, but your actual item level is increased by 30 in that time, a lot of the time. So like as you progress, it's usually not that hard. But soloing the dungeons is often quite interesting because even with that item level advantage, the bosses have a tendency to like bring something out of their sleeve. Like, if we just look at the Endwalker dungeons, that one was soloable, that one was not, because the final boss is a DPS check and you can't make it. That one was soloable, that one was soloable, that one was soloable. That was actually not that bad. And it was soloable. 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 Not soloable because the first boss has a DPS check that you couldn't meet. And I say couldn't because I don't know if you can now, but I'm pretty sure it was so distant that nothing has changed. This one turned out to be soloable. But it's really hard. And these two are soloable, because they don't have DPS checks. And the reason why we were concerned about the DPS check in Alexandria is because the DPS check in Lapis Manalis is 4 rods that are spaced out so far that you basically can't AoE more, like you can't AoE them, you have to single target them. And because they're 4, there's a reasonably high chance that you're going to like waste damage on overkilling them one at a time. So like you have to be extremely tight with your like, make sure you attack them in the right order, in the right way, and you don't waste a big attack if you can. But the ones in Alexandria, not only are they close enough that some attacks like Circle AoE centered on you, like you can cleave them a little bit. So you could do something like that. And then also the fact that the gauge charges slower the less rods are alive. Whereas in Lapis Manalis, it's a fixed timer. Either you make it or you don't. But yeah, in regards to the dream of additional optional dungeons, you know what? Let me just do that. In regards to the dream of optional dungeons, it's probably not happening because, as Aradil said, we're getting variant dungeons again, and we're also getting an adventuring foray. And for those that don't know what an adventuring foray is, that's like the colloquial term for Eureka, Bosia, things like that. We're getting one of those. And also that, we're supposedly also getting a deep dungeon. So we're getting a lot of stuff. But the reason why I'm saying I want more optional dungeons is specifically because the optional dungeons are the thing that everyone's probably, like, most players are going to have to deal with. There's also an ultimate. I'm pretty sure we usually get 2 ultimates in an expansion. Like, and we've just been told which one of them are going to be. Like, what one of them is going to be. We're probably getting 2. Probably. Dragon says, wasn't there a Holy Spirit one where auto-tang the last bit of another on a Lapis Manalis attempt? If I remember correctly, Cat tried all 4 tanks. And I'm pretty sure they still ended up doing it correct, like managing it with Warrior. And the way that Cat managed to do it with Warrior was Primal Rend smuggling. Which is the Endwalker edition of Primal Ruination smuggling. Like, you use Inner Release 30 seconds before you need the Primal Rend. And then you use Primal Rend. And because the intermission is over 30 seconds, you have enough time to get another Inner Release, spend it, spend the Primal Rend. And the thing is, if you hold the Inner Release until the mechanic starts, then you still only get 1 Inner Release. So, by smuggling in a free extra Primal Rend, you're just getting a Primal Rend. Like, the downside is your Inner Release comes in the latter half, but you still get it. I think he also, like, I think Cat also smuggled in a Nascent Chaos from Infuriate. Like, everything was brought, and that was the reason why I wasn't super certain that we would get the kill on the final boss. Was it the Eliminator? Weird, it's not called the Annihilator, right? In the first try, if at all, because I was expecting that I needed to, like, do a perfect Primal Rend smuggle, or even just Primal Ruination smuggle, to make it. That was the reason why in the first bit of the fight, I just randomly went, I'm doing this now, and then I just used Inner Release, fell cleave 3 times, and then I just sat on the Primal Rend for like 27 seconds. And then I used it, and then I sat on Primal Ruination for like 15 seconds, and then I used it. That's Primal Ruination smuggling. Not perfectly performed, but that's basically it. It means that you can use Inner Release, and then you can have 1 or 2 big attacks. And Inner Release will be back in a bit. What's the boss named in French? Six says, I guess it makes more sense to have no optional dungeons. It helps people experience the content and also have dungeon content in MSQ, which makes expansions feel median. That's true, Six. The particular problem with optional dungeons in an expansion is how many of you went and unlocked Temple of the Fist? If you did it for Blue Mage, then I want to know that too. And if you unlocked it in Stormblood, that would also be nice to know. Yeah, I also unlocked it because it was an expert roulette in Stormblood. Also, welcome back to the Cult of the Pink Dragon, Mo. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the the reacquired access to the emotes and everything. But it does sound like for a lot of players, it is either it was required because I got it in Stormblood and it was an expert roulette. A bit that says I did it for mentor roulette. Some that said I do all blue quests. I just do all of them. And there's also Philippe that said I did it for fun. But you can probably imagine that there are players that have not unlocked Temple of the Fist. Like straight up just haven't done it, and they have no reason to. What does Temple of the Fist give you? It specifically gives you this spell and access to Mentor Roulette. And I'm pretty sure that the loot drops from Temple of the Fist are the same as from Kugane Castle and Alamigo, but I can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure it's the same. Which of course also brings the follow-up question of, have you unlocked Kugane Castle? But I'm pretty sure that the sequence would be the same, because there wasn't anyone that said, oh, I did it for Blue Mage. But that's the problem with optional dungeons. Is that in the same way, did any one of you unlock the twinning not because you needed it for Expert Roulette and Shadowbringers, and not because you do all blue quests? Like, the thing is, most of the people that unlock something like the twinning is primarily just because they unlock it, unlock everything. Unlock the twinning for the memes. Yeah. But yeah, because there's a significant amount of players that don't really care. Rajin says, I unlocked it because a friend dragged me into it. But yeah, exactly. It doesn't surprise me, and I'd say good news. I would say that it sounds like all of you are very much interested in actually unlocking the content. Does I've done every quest in the game count as a different answer? I mean, it's kind of the same as I did every blue quest. But because of these dungeons basically losing significance once they're like cycle out of favor, means that it has this feeling of they add those optional dungeons, but how often do you see the twinning today? Like, if you queue for high level dungeons, I guess, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's there on the list. And if you have it unlocked, there's a chance you'll get it. But it also requires that 3 other players have it unlocked. I've seen the twinning in Mentor Roulette. Brontum says, I don't mind dungeons being a seasonal thing, though. I don't either, but logically speaking, it makes better sense for the developers to make something that isn't seasonal. Right? Like, the logic being that they could make an extra... Like, they could make... Swallow's Compass again. That was optional. They could make Hell's Lit again. I'm pretty sure that one was optional. Could make Fractal I think Fractal Continuum was optional. I'm pretty sure it's just the Burn and Gimlet Dark and Drowned City of Scala that were required. They could make those optional dungeons again. But they could also spend that same time on making a deep dungeon. Like, maybe they can't make a whole deep dungeon with that kind of time, but they could get a pretty big stab at that, at making a deep dungeon with that time. And if you go like, well, you can have one extra dungeon in the expert roulette in each major patch by adding like an extra optional dungeon in each major patch. So like the expert roulette is 4 dungeons instead of 2. But once those optional dungeons cycle out, they're pretty much just gone, right? You don't see them anymore. Mostly. Or you can have a deep dungeon, which will still matter years from now. Hell's Let was a lead-in into the Four Lords, right? Yep. Swallow's Compass was also a dungeon required for the Four Lords. So I get why they don't bother making additional optional dungeons, because it's sort of like they could spend that time on something that brings joy to people for longer. Strad says, I do think an optional dungeon allows the devs to explore themes that probably wouldn't ever be explored in the MSQ, and I agree. I would also say that there's also the argument that they could also do that without an optional dungeon. Like, they could do that in a variant dungeon. They could! But that is like, from my perspective, the fact that all of these optional dungeons kind of just like fade into obscurity once they're no longer relevant is like, from my perspective, like the smoking gun proof why we don't get extra optional dungeons. But it is interesting that they've decided that tradition, we make 2 optional dungeons. Strand says expert should also just be all max level dungeons. Level 100 roulette shouldn't exist. I could see that. Back when there were more level 100 dungeons in total, I could see more merit to making it so that the expert ones were the newest ones, while level 100 was, you know, the ones that have been around for a while. But now that we get eight dungeons for the max level, I don't think it's a big problem. Back when there were more level 100 dungeons. Well, back when there were more max level dungeons. Expert is there to allow people to catch up with gear for the current raid tier. Well, you don't have to do expert roulette for that. Like, expert gives you this. Once you've done this, you can just do this. Just queue. Like, I'm reasonably confident that if people needed gear from this, for ultimates, I think, they don't queue for this. They just go in here and queue for this. But yeah, it makes sense that we're not getting as many because there's also all the other content. But it also makes sense that it does, like, this, it's sort of waste of time, exactly because, well, we've discovered that players don't, like a large percentage of players don't unlock something for nothing. Exactly, Strat. I believe I made a whole bunch of job guides in the time period where I can't remember if it was this way or this way expert roulette looked. But every time I zone into Fell Court of Troya, I get like this like feeling like, oh man, again. Because I got Fell Court of Troya a lot. And then I did extra sometimes, like record footage for a video. Like just, I need footage of doing a dungeon, a max level dungeon on Paladin, so I guess I'll do a expert roulette. Oh, Fell Court of Troya. Oh boy. Alright, I need some footage of running a dungeon as warrior. Oh boy, Fell Court of Troya. I also got Lapis Manalis quite a lot, but it was nowhere near as much as Fell Court of Troya. Variant Dungeon Roulette, that does sound interesting. Would that also include like a specified route you had to take? Like that would be interesting. They make it so that the NPC gets full reign, so you don't like, so people don't just go, well, we've discovered that the left route is slightly faster, so if you don't go left, then you're basically trolling. Ugh. This one goes out to people that don't quite know exactly what trolling is. Apparently, I guess the definition has moved in the many years on the internet. Perhaps make a vote system in there? There is one. The spot that most players step on is the one that activates. But because you're 4, I think if you can't agree, then it just chooses the NPC spot. Like, if you vote and you don't agree, then the NPC chooses. If you have a majority somewhere, then that's where it goes. But you can see that if there wasn't a strict system saying, oh, the NPC said right today, so it's right today, we would probably get some toxic players in the daily variant dungeons that are like, but this path is faster, why did you vote the bad one? I can guarantee it. There's also the point of, do you throw this lever to change the boss mechanics or not, or whatever? Yeah, exactly. And if you just make it so that the NPC just chooses everything in the random roulette, then, like, you get something fresh every time, assuming the NPC chooses somewhat randomly. And I think that would be pretty interesting. Like, if I landed in a random variant dungeon like that, like, there was a short period where I believe I spammed the, this one. Because I hadn't gotten all the items yet. And I reached a point where I just clicked this. Oh. Clicked that. And just registered for duty. And then I just followed the leader. Like, well, not the leader. I just followed the group and was like, I don't care where we're going. I'll just help. If you want to get a specific path, I can try and help. But I don't care. You just go for it. Which was my way of getting variety. But if the NPC just says, we're going left today, and you can't argue with it, then you go left, and then at some point where there's a decision to be made, the NPC just randomly chooses it. That would also be an interesting way that if there is a path that you cannot figure out what the problem is. And then, eventually, the NPC just tells you. Like, straight up just tells you, this is what we're doing today. And there are some of the paths where it requires you to do something specific, where the only way the NPC would be able to enforce it would be something like... I believe there's something like a kill order for one of them. It could just make it so that the NPC just says, oh, well, we're killing it in this order, so... they make it so that the other ones are invulnerable, so you can only kill them in the quote-unquote correct order and things like that, to show you how it's done. Like, they could do that. That would be interesting. Gathel says, well, then you could just report them if they get toxic. You're right. But looking at all the other things in the game, where there seems to be like some level of contingency plan to avoid the toxic, I could imagine that they'd rather just not give you reason to report people. Enforcing a random path would be tough for players whom are catching up and joined not from roulette. I guess the argument there is that this would only work if the random variant dungeon didn't queue you into people who are specifically queuing for variant dungeons. And it instead was its own separate system. But then they could also make it so that if you queue for random variant dungeons, you get a special jester hat or something, I don't know, next to your name. And that means that you can't choose anything in the dungeon. So like a lot of things where there's a decision to be made, that like just a simple decision, only the players that queued specifically for that variant dungeon can do things. And you just have to be along for the ride. That could, of course, also get toxic, with people just queuing into stuff and then just not doing anything. But there can, of course, be a timer that goes like, well, if you don't make a decision, then the NPC will. I does imagine the NPC doing the Alo Alo puzzle reach all alone under the confused looks of players. That would actually be really funny. Do you think it should exclude the secret route? Probably. Probably. That could be an interesting thing to do. Bob says, I need to finish my variants someday. I just don't really find them very interesting for very long. Too much repetition. That's understandable. I think a big problem, quote-unquote problem, with variant dungeons is also that while they're soloable and like they scale down to do them alone, they don't scale perfectly. Like, the time it takes to complete a variant dungeon alone is way longer than doing it with 4 players. Just in, like, it hardly matters what those 4 players are. Like, those players have to be absolutely terrible for it to be slower. And yet it's definitely intentional, but it has the effect that some players go, oh, I can do it alone, so I will do it alone. And then have this experience of, wow, this is slow. Man, these packs take a long time. Wow, this isn't fun. And then they don't finish. While if they had just gone in with, with 4 players, it doesn't even have to be, 4 specific players, just 4 players, it would have gone way smoother, and they might have been like, it was actually pretty good. It's not that bad. But because they went in alone, it took about as long as killing an automatois. 7 years. And yet it's not that bad, Strat. I think I also did the first variant dungeon solo as warrior. But my experience was specifically that it felt like it took a ridiculously long time. I think I ran it once or twice, then I brought Sid along, and it felt like it almost cut like a third of the duty time down. It just removed a third of the time. Ridiculously huge difference. There's also the part that it's just more fun to not go alone, in my opinion. "16 minutes as a warrior for solo? But that is the problem, really, I think. Did you know that if you go the same way the NPC goes, you get extra loot? Yeah, I know that. I do know that. But the extra loot it gives you is like this. These things. And if you don't need those... Gex says I did all the variant dungeons solo. I don't know how long those would take with others. Felt fine to me. Fair enough. Like, that's the thing, is that all I can say is that I did them solo, and then I brought a friend, and then it went way faster. So for me, it made a huge difference. The extra loot is usually the magicked prisms, but there is a chance of it being a minion or whatever. Oh. I don't... if I remember correctly, I didn't get any of the minions while doing variant dungeons. Not a single one. But fair enough. Maybe my estimate of how long it should take was was unfair. Kraken Mo says I did some with my free company mates and some solo, but I'm not in my free company because they have high DPS. If I remember correctly, when we did this one, Mount Rockon, we went on for quite a while because to some degree we tried to figure things out ourselves, which meant I think sometimes we had to go an extra time, and we did enough runs. It was quite funny because initially everyone in the group were like their main job, and then later on in the evening people started switching jobs, and the weirdest part is that sometimes people would just switch randomly, like just suddenly without even saying anything. And, you know, because the duty doesn't necessarily require a tank, it wasn't a problem, except if, I don't know, the tank switched to DPS and then just didn't say anything, and the tank who switched to DPS didn't choose taunt, so now there was no tank. Like weird things like that. And the weirdest part was that, like, late in the session, we had cases where someone would switch to a job they don't play very much, which meant really bad gear and not good damage, which meant that suddenly the duty took way longer than before. But, I mean, we didn't wipe, but it had a huge impact on the clear time. Samuel says, I remember my first run of Alo Alo Island, I got a hedge, and I was bewildered because I never got anything like that before, not even constantly running Zildine. That's true, I think I got a hedge too on Alo Alo, but I don't think I ever got a minion. Aggro roulette. The surprise who gets hit. Well, overall, it's not a big deal, but it can become a big deal if people just, you know, choosing jobs randomly. And if the person who was playing healer wasn't paying attention, they might not realize that, oh, no one's a tank anymore, and things like that. And suddenly gets very hectic. Well, with that said, that of course also means that we have at least one more solo challenge in the works, or in the pipeline of doing these. Although I think the most interesting parts of this is, does the final boss in Tender Valley use Greatest Labyrinth again if you're extremely slow? My guess is no. And how many times will the second boss use teacups? And is there a point where the first boss stops sending children at you? My guess is no. But aside from that, neither dungeon has a DPS check. And if neither one has a DPS check, then it's just a matter of, does either of them do enough damage to like overwhelm a solo warrior? My guess is no, but I'd still like to, you know, have it proven that it can be done. Because if that's how you approach the game, is like, can you solo this? Probably. There's no reason you couldn't. I didn't check. That's a weird way to prove things, isn't it? But that will be what we'll be doing next time we do one of these. Oh, whoops. With that said, if you enjoyed this particular stream, it helps me a lot if you leave a like on it in the YouTube stuff. That tells the algorithm that this was an enjoyable stream. I'd like other people to enjoy it as well, so thank you so much for the support. And if you'd like to be part of the Discord community, there is a server you can join where you'll also find the weekly schedule. You can see what else is coming up. And you can find an announcement room with links to videos and streams when they come out. And if you go to the role assignments room and grab the reminder roll, you'll get a notification when those streams and videos come out. And you get an extra one like 15 minutes before stream starts, so you don't miss a second. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chat, or there's also a Ko-Fi link in the description. It all helps me to support me and the channel directly so that I can focus on doing stuff like this for all of you, for all of you's entertainment. I hope it's entertaining at least, even though I've turned into a pale Kai as opposed to shadow Kai, as you can see. I should have turned on some lights. Oh well. Tomorrow I have a video coming out about some of the weird tricks that people either used or still use in Dawntrail. So I hope you're looking forward to that. It actually features a little bit of talk about primal ruination smuggling, so maybe you'll learn a little more about that. But that's everything from me, so good night, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye!